Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on another terrific Tuesday's edition of Talk Today, as we're not only very thankful, grateful, and appreciative. All words probably mean the same thing, but convey a great sense of acknowledging the blessings from on high. It's going to be some open line. We want to hear from you, so stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome in this open line. Listen, it's Thursday, the day before Friday, and into the weekend. Let it be a blessing. So share your thoughts with us. Let's make it an engaging, informative, interactive afternoon. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for sharing.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, young lady. How are you today?
I can't see right now.
Okay.
But I'm not bad at all.
All right. Well, I pray it gets better. All right. Let me hear.
I called to say we have a government that say that this coronavirus, anyone that coronavirus, they will be taken care of, and they got the facilities to take care of these people, and yakety yak and yakety yak and yakety yak. Well, I just want to say that my sister-in-law has a pacemaker. She has a breathing problem. She has high blood pressure. Called for an ambulance last night.
Oh, okay.
2.5 hours and no ambulance came. They told her they're going to find somewhere to put her. And after 2.5 hours of not picking her up just on Walker's Road, the family called back and told them, you know what? It's okay, just forget about it. But anyhow, the family was upset to the fact if anything happened to their mother overnight, they didn't know what they would do.
Right.
With this part government. I'm not saying that the part government is responsible for this COVID. Don't get me wrong, please, anybody out there. But the fact of the matter is, you're going to come and you're going to have your brief meetings and you're going to tell us you are prepared and you are this and you are that. And when someone lives on Walker's Road in the ambulance hospital behind the hospital on Walker's Road, the ambulance couldn't get to her. She waited 2.5 hours for an ambulance, and nobody showed up. And after 2.5 hours, they decided to cancel it because they have to wait until they can find somewhere to put her before they could bring her to the hospital.
So when she... I just want to make sure that I do not misunderstand. The hospital is saying that before they can bring her to the hospital, they need to find sufficient... They don't have space there to put... Okay.
Yes. So I just want to put that out this morning. I'm just thinking about public health. I'm going to contact you within so many hours. I don't know what they're calling, but I know someone is not calling. And furthermore, when you call, they got about 68 numbers. When you call them, all you get is a recording.
So let me.
I want to tell Miss Sabrina Turner this afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
She better get in the ball.
Okay.
She need to get in the ball with that hospital and who's having COVID and who needs help.
Right.
Stop looking pretty on this plastic TV and making us think that they got our back and they don't have our back.
Mm-hmm. Well, it certainly is very concerning. People are obviously growing, increasingly fearful, and it is very emotional. But let me then ask, and I thank you for sharing publicly, but increasingly we're hearing from a lot of people that there is some concern, probably be a better way to put it, but let's put it as lightly as we can, that the present hospital facility with patients who are already there for non-related this issue they got going about the place already have capacity issues, as you've identified from the call last night. And so just the regular patients having to be accommodated.
But Sterling, the fact of the matter is that they precipitated in meetings after time, that they are ready and they are equipped and they are all hospitals and ground waiting for us people. And it's not working the way that they think it is working. And when you go to Georgetown Hospital, you mention Health City, they get highly upset at the hospital. The doctor nurses up there get highly upset when you mention Health City. What I got to do with what you get upset for?
Yeah. Well, why do you think that is? Why do you think they get upset?
Because if they doesn't want the patient to go to East End, they want them all to stay at Georgetown and probably die because they can't accommodate them.
Right. But no, what is then, in your estimation, would be a viable solution? How do we fix this thing?
This COVID is here. And I know it's not going away right now. We just need to be more vigilant. We need to be more caring. We got to be more concerned. And people need to follow the rules and regulations of about wearing masks and hand washing and distance and not in the grocery store with their mask hanging across their nose and all that kind of crap. Because there's no one is telling them and penalizing these people. I guess that's the wrong word for me to use, because the first thing someone's going to call and say, where she get off of penalizing someone that doesn't want to wear the mask.
Right.
But
well,
you know what, Sterling? I don't know if I'm going to want my opinion on this.
No, certainly do, man. I think...
I'm going to speak it how I feel it.
Well, go right ahead. I mean,
don't care what nobody says. But when PPM was in, they protected us. They said you would get the COVID. But I know for a fact if they were still in, I doubt very much to have over 500 and change positive with this island right now. We can't escape it, but the condition and the preparation is not working. And whoever the one that black that me this morning, because I called PPM name, I don't have no favoritism in there, but you were safe.
Right, but they
you were safe.
We heard Honorable Premier Panton share that this government is listening to the same advisors that advised the last government. This government is following the same thing, and so would it not be a proper inference to say that it's all one and the same? So what is in place now is just a continuation of what was there before.
I don't think that they do now. They don't really say they don't want help from the past government.
Okay.
And you know what, Sterling?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness, I even forgot what I was going to just say.
Okay,
they
sorry.
don't want no help from the government, the past government. Okay? Well, if they don't want no help from the past government, they don't say that other government was perfect. None of these governments are perfect. They all got along.
Right.
They're never too young, too old to learn.
Right.
When you are in the government, you got to take care of your people, the best of the best.
Right. So let's take that point. Is that part of the challenge that we are having relative to? Sorry, Miss Susan, if you're chatting with me, I'm not hearing you, Mom. Okay. Isn't that part of the challenge that we're having? That because of this failed Westminster model of divided country through political party system where we're pitting government in opposition, should we not be working nationally and collectively together? If we're facing this dangerous boogerman running about the place that we got armed forces, with guns and all that stuff running about the streets in countries across the globe, should we not be working together as elected members of parliament as a unified society to help to keep each other safe, to ensure that the resources are there, that the health and welfare of all of us is primary.
We should be, but nobody want to work together. We are so divided that we can taste it in every meal that we eat, every bottle of water we drink, we can taste it. And they have no plans of getting together because it's 2021 right now. We're not getting together no time soon because nobody wants to get together. Everybody thinks that they're better than the other one. And what happens? Their position swells their head and they forget who put them in there. Tell everyone rise my anxiety right
No,
now.
I certainly don't want that.
I need to get off of this, and I just want to say to Georgetown Hospital and this part government and say that they got the people covered with this COVID. They are lying or they're sleeping. I thank you, Sterling, and I hope that my sister don't die because of waiting to get to that hospital in Georgetown.
I'm pretty she's safe. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Ma'am. Thank you, too. And that's where the emotions run high. You can understand the caller. Thankfully, it's a lady who expresses her opinion, who has the courage, and who isn't standing and waiting and seeing, as it were. But let's ask the question, as many of you have posed, some publicly, many for whatever reason. When it's alleged that an employee is now saying to this employer, listen, I've tested this way, and the employee isn't allowed to take the time off as sick days. Now, I'm not saying this is across the board, this is even the gospel, not even saying that this happens in many instances, but allegedly many employees have shared that their employers are not willing for them to take a sick day. In this case, even under the labor law, they've allowed so many sick days that they have to be docked, pay. So they're home for that period of time. They can't afford to be off work. They're not being paid for that time off. Now, if you flip that coin over from the employer's perspective, they're required to close for a period of time. And, what it was saying, deep cleaning, we're doing stuff because we honestly want everybody to be as safe as possible. The employers, the customers, everybody. And nobody, I think, is suggesting otherwise. That's a cost to that company as well. And if that company isn't paying their employees for that day or for that time, that's a significant loss of income for those people, loss of revenue for that business. How is this going to continue? And given the emotions, given the confusion, sometimes the conflicting opinions and everything that is transpiring, now we've said, let's learn to live with it. How can we get to a space where it doesn't create the anxiety, it doesn't resolve or devolve, I should say, into vitriol, and it doesn't revolve around a discussion where it's the person in position, whether it's the economic position, the political position, that position of power that dictates. It's about humility and humanity. Now, I say about, governments having this military patrol. We saw, or we heard the caller just yesterday. He certainly was recognizable, certainly identified himself, as a musician who has traveled to many countries and saying, we know his productions in Jamaica and some of the better recording studios in the region, if not globally, producing some excellent soundtracks. He said he was there, and there, almost like a ghost town. What did he reference? Like Georgetown after 5 o'clock not long ago. And there was the armed forces out, as we've seen in Australia, as we've seen in other parts of the world. Now, I don't know about you, but unless like Ghostbusters, you're not going to take a bullet and kill a virus, right? I'm not sure. So let's come back to what the caller is inferring. Let's work together. Let's find a way to make sure we're sensible. Remember the practice we had? We all clean with bleach and Pine-Sol. We all bathed before we went around newborns. We all washed our hands. Now, some of us could do a little bit more than that, a little bit more often. But let's find a way to make ourselves safe. And let's try to find a sense of competence and respect when we're speaking. Let's find a sense of, how should we say it? Consideration for each other. And let's find that there's some truth and no longer, the spin on things, controlling the narrative and all the other foolishness that we're hearing from the talking heads across the globe. Maybe a little bit of love can go a really long way. And that's not because I had a good cup of coffee this morning. Just because you guys have indicated that you're growing increasingly frustrated with the stupidity. And I don't use that word lightly, because we're talking at each other, not instead of talking with each other. You know what? Two people chatting, nobody listening. Ain't nobody hearing nothing. Well, if you don't understand that, let me translate it for you after the break. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. You know, barking dogs don't always bite, but biting dogs don't necessarily bark. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Are you planning a social, an office party, or event over the holiday season? Make the most of your holiday party and leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway Box to Go, with the option of a 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. Cater your holiday parties with Subway. Visit subway.ky for menu options. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Registration is now open for the 6th annual Meals on Wheels 5K Turkey Trot Fundraising Run Walk. Come trot with us on Saturday, November 20th at Grand Ole House, South Church Street. There are great raffle prizes to be won, finisher medals, trophies, and complimentary continental breakfast to enjoy. Join our event sponsors, Davenport Development, McAlpine, and Radio Cayman as they support Meals on Wheels in the fight to end senior hunger in the Cayman Islands. Register today online at www.mealsonwheels.ky or call 769-1974 for details on volunteering for this event. See you at the starting line.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments November 8th to the 20th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancement, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles or have any skin disorders and skin cancers, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.portercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That's 946-9020.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome back and thanks for sharing with us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-TALK, 1-800-534-8255. Toll free with the kind compliments of flow. And of course, you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us. Some of you always find that there are other avenues into the airwaves. Some of you use the carrier pigeon. Hey, we'll even use that if you want that today. Whatever it is in order to get your voice up. With that in mind, I want to relay some sentiments to share with us yesterday and on Tuesday. Some that we've been trying to corroborate, others that we're just trying to process, to understand. As I said to one group who sort of making the presentation is, when are we going to get to a space where we can voice our opinions in a way? One person responded, well, you know me, when I talk, I cuss. Well, why do you have to? Not saying that isn't how many of us speak, but maybe think about it a bit. Some of us, we get, a little bit annoyed and inflamed, and that's our default. I'm not going to excuse it, but I'm not going to say that we should deny that person's voice. For many of us, it's hard to hear when people are shouting, The louder they speak, the less that we are able to hear. When they're cursing, we tune out almost immediately. For others, well, that's just par for the course. Now, these are, good people that we see in church on Saturday and Sunday and midweek service included, right? Male and female alike. But that aside, why is it that we're not prepared to speak our opinions in a way that encourages others to likewise share their perspective and perhaps challenge us, but also help us to cement our thoughts? Now, for many of us, we adopt the process that maybe it's better for us to just hold on, see what's going to happen, and then we'll know exactly, because hindsight is 2020. Many of us will say, well, if I say this, then this is what's going to happen. I'm going to lose my friendship, I won't get invited, or other consequences. Some are intimidated, some are victimized, some are treated in such a way that they are no longer able to associate with the people that they want, or they're treated or made to feel a little uneasy. Now, that should not be condoned, especially in a democracy, but we would be foolish to consider that doesn't even happen here. But today, it's this person, tomorrow is the next. One day it'll be us if we don't stand against this level of growing division. Take, for instance, I don't know that we should call it social media because I don't think it's very social, but look at the comments that people share. Look at the things that they post and realize how easy it is for people to be very cut in their comments. Come back to that in a second, but let's go to the phones. Welcome, good afternoon, and thanks for sharing.
Hey, good afternoon, Sterling.
Hey, how are you today?
Not bad from here in the Brock, but I hear siren. That don't sound too good.
It was a time when we heard those things and we became very concerned, right?
Right.
And now you hear them all the time and you wonder, where they going and what happened? But the Brock is different, huh? Yeah. I pray it's okay.
That's true.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, to get started, I just want to ask you if you heard the OC, Mr. O'Connor, there Monday on his show. Were you listening to him?
I did hear bits and pieces, but I apologize when I foolishly set up a meeting that I could not be able to listen even halfway.
Okay, man. I hope that you caught the piece part. Well, I can tell you what, he sounded like he was running for politics, or he was really protesting against something. Man, he was on the move. Yeah. But he called and said, while he was speaking, he said, he's sorry for the little overcoming of his reaction, but I wanted to call him and tell him maybe he should have kept going because. But what I wanted to say was, he was really protesting against or going against our candidates that are there as our protection or leaders or whatever you want to call them. But they're nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found.
Okay.
So I was just wanted to say Monday, I think it was, in the same time, one young man called there. He was speaking about the battles and things of the world. And, the Bible doesn't really speak of no country. It just says nations will rise against nations. And he said at the coming of Armageddon, there will be blood will be up to the horse's bridle, the bridle of the horse, which means the battle will never be, it'll never be an ending battle till every mankind in that battle, which is hundreds of thousands of men and women, will be to their death. But what I was calling for to say, because just now you were talking about people with church and things like that, when we have these young men, as myself, speaking concerning the Bible, of the fulfilling of the Bible, especially these days, and then we have people that are educated up in the age. Is one gentleman, I think he called him by name, came on and tried to discredit what he was saying. The young man was making good sense of what he was saying, because I followed it up in the Bible, and the Bible does speak of the nations that will rise against nations. And as my knowledge of the Bible, and a lot of people today claim they know the Bible, but they don't follow what the Bible speak about the sleeping giant. Now let me say who is the sleeping giant that will be in the battle of the war in the coming days, coming life. Mm-hmm. The sleeping giant is called by known. The Bible requires it doesn't call by name, but it's known as the country called China. Mm-hmm. China is known as the sleeping giant. They will rise because China has the largest foot army in the entire world. They will be the ones that dominate the war. They will be the ones that cause the problem. But what I was calling to say was, back in the young man with that, what I was calling to say on OC part, I am very distorted knowing that OC called regarding where is our leaders. Mm-hmm. Right now, the Cayman Islands, the premier right now is in Glasgow, Scotland. And you can't find no government leader today, no leader of education, Minister of Education, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Tourism, not one individual that in government wants to come on a talk show to ensure the people of the Cayman Islands that they have some little security of comfort. Nothing. They're just hiding away until the premier returns, and then they come out of the hiding and say what they have to say. Now, I am a Caymanian. I speak my opinion. Those that doesn't like it, well, I can give them my address, and they can come right to my front door. I got to run them out, but they can come to my front door, and I got to tell them exactly how I feel. Because if Mr. Connor can get on the radio and cry out for our leaders, just please come on the talk show and talk to the people of the Cayman Islands. What is wrong that they get themselves in this position where they know they're so high and mighty because of the dollar bill. Now they're making their big salary. Now they can't even back their own backs. Now they wait until the premier returns for him to give them clearance to come out and say what they have to say. This is getting so ridiculous in this little country. To know at this stage of this pandemic that we are in, that we don't even have the security from our leaders. As such, we call them our leaders. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't even call them that anymore. Mm-hmm. Because my father used to tell me, he always said, boy, any man can be a boss. Mm-hmm. Very few can be a leader. Very few. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very few. And it's sad to know that right now we are seeing that exact illustration, that very few can be leaders. What we have done in our country are not leaders. They are bosses pushing everybody to do what is that goes against someone's will. That is the kind of people we have. Sorry about that way, but it's sad.
No, man. I want us to be able to respectfully and responsibly share opinions, because if we start to hide behind a Mama Frogtail and be a big boy, you kind of, at some point in time, you need to stick a hit up,
Yeah, man.
So let me ask, right? Why? And you can answer, and this is for everybody else, because it's time that we are prepared to be accountable as we try to hold others accountable, right? So, why do you think it is that the perception is, as you referenced in Mr. R's comments and others, that there is no leadership, there is no significant person at the helm saying, "I'm in charge," as it were, whether it's in the medical, financial, in the church, like there's no true semblance of that strong leader or leaders.
The thing about it is, Dwayne, when these people come around to election, this is where part leadership comes in play. Leadership's supposed to be where part you are there 24/7, 365 days a year for the people.
Right.
You shouldn't be with the people at the year or what has been now almost a year since they've been in power.
No, this government. Elections were what, a couple days ago.
A couple days ago, a couple months. Yeah, that seemed like a couple days ago. Exactly, and that was the only time that we saw what we call. Let's take for instance Cayman Brac, because I don't know how much leaders they are Cayman altogether. Big amount, but anyway, Cayman Brac got two between here and Little Cayman. We have two. And we can't. I see one continually through the week. I rarely see the other one. But the thing about it is, we see these people that we call leaders once in a blue moon.
All right, so let's ask then, and in the political context, just generally speaking, whether here, there, or anywhere, we have some people saying, well, what we need is a benevolent dictator. We have some people who say, listen, we want leadership, especially in democracy, where there's a sense of consensus. So you get together and let's look at what we may understand of the Westminster model, where there's collective responsibility. So there's a discussion amongst the group who are making decisions. They come to something, and then it's a simple majority, and everybody's bound by it. And you like it, you dissent or not, you got to go along. And if not, you resign that seat. Similarly, that's a simple paraphrase of what we think the Westminster model does, right? So in that sense, we have this thing to make sure that we come forward with the consensus and the majority rule. Or you may have a perspective where in a democracy, a particular political administration might say, okay, go around the table, but I'm the political leader, and this is how it's going to go. Fall in line or get out, right? A much, if I want to say, a more of a heavy-handed approach, as it were. Well, which one of those two styles would we prefer?
Regarding the leadership role, I just don't understand why the government gives these positions to our leaders in Parliament, and they can't carry out their role until the Premier gives them authority. I just don't follow that. I mean, clearly I can see here on the BRAC, and clearly I can hear on the radio from what is going on Grand Cayman, that no politician, none of them, we don't want to call them politicians, we want to call them leaders. Make them feel good, call them leaders. None of them are showing their faces. They don't have to show their face on the radio, and they can't even get there. They can't even mingle with the people in the community.
Right.
Because the whole thing about it is COVID got them so scared now. They are telling everybody that they have to do this and do this because they are the leaders of the people. But they are the very same ones that are so afraid they can't come out into the community. They can't call no one by phone. Even so, Donald Trump used to use what he called WhatsApp, because I call it a coward way of transaction, communication between two people. But our people can't even do such things. They just think for themselves. It seems like they can't.
Yeah, but and you're breaking up now as well, But the problem, as you share, is maybe we as the populace, the voters in particular, have unreasonable expectations of our elected people, and maybe that role has changed from them being policymakers and leaders to that thing that we had before, where we now want them to be our caregivers, our bank accounts, and the like. As we go to the break, though, any final thoughts you want to share?
No, just the fact to know that I would wish that before time, because I think tomorrow, you are on tomorrow as well?
God's willing, yeah.
Yeah, that at least someone from the government can come on and try to make the country feel more secure. Promises is a comfort to hard food, but at least they can come and say something.
Yeah. Well, we know that, as I understand it anyway, the governor is scheduled to join Mr. Hart on the morning for the record. So there's an opportunity.
I hope play it to him, please.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, thanks for sharing your thoughts, and call back as you wish, all right?
All right, thanks, buddy.
Blessings, my friend. Right. And as we go into the break, I'm thinking of the Bob Marley song, Real Situation. We say, check out the real situation, What nation war against nation? Where did it all begin? Where did it all end? Or something to that effect. And then total destruction is the only solution. Lyrics that, well, Bob Marley was gifted, Say what you want to say about the man, but his music still resonates. So maybe we should look at the prophetic words sometimes. But let's pause. Let's take a break and share your thoughts with us. The only thought that isn't worth sharing is the one that you don't. Share with us. Let us hear from you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Savannah Pharmacy. Shop local and get a head start on your Christmas shopping. For ladies' handbags, clothes, shoes, fragrance, candles, and cosmetics with the newest Farmhouse Fresh line of skincare. For the gentlemen, clothes, shoes, fragrances, gift sets, and toys and games for the kids. Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs. And convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
At Subway, we caramel a lot about our customers, so we decided to give you 2 treats in one with the new Caramel Apple Cookie. Enjoy cinnamon apples, caramel bits, and salted caramel crunch baked in, and topped with a drizzle of caramel-flavored icing. Gooey, crunchy, and yummy. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious Caramel Apple Cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert, available for a limited time at all Subway locations. Subway, eat fresh.
CUC reminds you to always be aware of power lines. Electricity can be very dangerous. It cannot be seen, but it can be lethal. Do not loosen or come into contact with the guy wires or guy rods at the base of poles. These guy wires and rods are marked with a yellow plastic covering. Damage to these wires and rods can result in service interruptions or injuries to the public. Safety first at CUC.
The COVID-19 vaccine is the best way to protect yourself, your loved ones, and our community. It is proven to be safe and effective. Our doctors stand behind the vaccine because it works, and it will save lives. If you are 50 years and older, a healthcare worker, or most at risk from COVID-19, and received your second dose at least 6 months ago, then you're now eligible to receive your third dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Get vaccinated. Let's keep working together to protect the ones we love. Visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus to learn more.
It's the International Men's Day island-wide sales event on Friday, November 19. Enjoy awesome savings and amazing deals from your favorite stores and service providers. Honor the positive contributions of men and boys while supporting local businesses in-store and online. Offers so incredible, you'll get something for the entire family. International Men's Day island-wide sales event on Friday, November 19. Brought to you by the Family Resource Center and endorsed by the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce. Check out FRC's social media for a list of participating stores.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's open line, and let's hear your thoughts. And for those of you who have been champions, who have been very much inspiring and encouraging, nurturing, who have shared the importance and the health in a democracy is the voice of a person who can speak freely. Hopefully, I'll add in a civil, responsible, respectful manner. But when that voice is silenced, yes, at the end of the show, I won't call how my son calls the group, but, Simon & Garfunkel, The Sound of Silence. And you listen to some of the lyrics, talks about, people talking but nobody listening and, nobody hearing what's being said. We need to think about that. Are we sincerely, when we ask somebody how are you doing? Are we waiting to listen? Are we genuinely interested in how they are doing? Are we considering what can we do to help them along? They might be at the top. Can we help them stay there? They may be going to the top, whatever that top is. How do we help them to get there? And when they get there, are they going to step on us to keep us from coming up? Or are they reaching down to pull us up? What I say, a rising tide floats all ships. Sadly, it's lonely at the top because we've stepped on so many people. We pulled them down, pushed them down, beat them down, kept them down. We didn't want them to come up and celebrate with us. I would love very much to have as many at the top. If I'm one of them, great, so that we can enjoy it. Now, during the break, somebody sent me something in response to, this social media, and it's the exchange between a father and a daughter. And the daughter says, to her father, I guess it's probably, if it's social media, it's probably not a telegram sent by Pune Express way back when. This is probably something sent electronically. So let's go with the age of that. And she tells her daddy, says, I'm coming home to get married. But she needs him to take out his checkbook. She's in love with somebody that's far away. He lives, almost down under. They met on a dating website, became friends on Facebook, which probably changed his name now. Long chats on WhatsApp, proposed on Skype. And then they had 2 months of relationship through Viber, and want the father's blessings and good wishes, and a big, expensive, lavish wedding. The father is very much in tune with what's going on, and he's savvy. He says, "Well, Franklin, my darling," he says, "my suggestion to you is get married on Twitter, have fun on Tango, buy your kids on Amazon, and pay through PayPal. And if it gets to a stage where you get fed up with your husband, well, just sell him on eBay." That's a thought, and I appreciate my brother for sending me that little joke, because too many times we take ourselves too seriously, but we fail to appreciate that life goes on, huh? And too many of us don't appreciate the impact of what is transpiring around us, because partly we're too busy, being, I don't know what you want to say, spiteful. Now, if you are like the caller yesterday who was sharing that, he's in quarantine, so you might feel that the walls are closing in and we are praying with you and trusting that you can look out. But vent, or certainly have a listening ear. Dial us up and share your thoughts. What is it like? There was a friend who was sharing about a co-worker who was, almost back to back a few weeks at a time. And as the friend shared about the co-worker, he said that the co-worker was one that anybody and everybody will look at and say, well-grounded, well-adjusted, highly intelligent, highly experienced, well-traveled, very much, equipped to spend extended periods alone researching stuff or being the life of the party. Seemed to be just, the best person. But after, almost 2 tours, I think would have been the phrase he used, back to back, having to be in isolation or quarantine. Once because the workplace had a positive test, and so being responsible and following the protocols and went into isolation, and the second, back to work for a very short stint. And again, it happens perhaps because of social contacts, family or the like, has to go back in. And 2 immediate problems became very evident. You're away from your job for an extended period of time, back to back. Not unlike a prolonged illness, other than the person seemingly has no signs, symptoms, other than to be confined to this space. And then secondly, the economic impact of, no income for that period of time. How do you exhaust your savings, or if that's already exhausted, how do you support yourself? Now, we've seen some isolation support group being spearheaded and assisting people, but is that sustainable? And the impact that this person, has sort of experienced on their well-being is causing many of us to consider what this may be doing for us long term. Now, we may become conditioned, become afraid to interact with people. We may lose some of our social skills, the etiquette, the level of interaction and engagement and conversation might be dulled somewhat. We may become so that we're no longer comfortable around people. Some of us are already somewhat awkward in those situations, and some of us struggle even more than others when we are, by ourselves, because I think as social beings we're meant to interact and engage. We know that as educators we're told that those formative years are important for our children to play, because it's through that play that they're actually learning. Now, very few of us have all the answers, very few have any answers at all. But if we're not tolerant and respectful and appreciative of others' opinions, one thing we might have, and that is a divided society that is intolerant to others' perspectives. So as we head into the headline news at 1, we want to invite you to put together some thoughts. Maybe they're just a series of questions. Maybe you haven't quite formulated your thought process, but you're thinking out loud. Well, I can commit to you that I'll be receptive to what you have to share. if you want to engage and to be questioned and to be prodded along to think, you certainly have a receptive ear. If you want, healthy banter, certainly willing. If you just want to vent, that's your prerogative as well. So give us a shout and join us after the break.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. Today's biggest news.
Teachers and uniformed services are now eligible to receive COVID-19 vaccination boosters, dose 3, as added protection from community transmission. This includes staff from all schools in the Cayman Islands, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, the Cayman Islands Fire Service, Her Majesty's Prison Service, and Customs and Border Control. Persons aged 40 and over will be eligible for boosters starting Monday, November 8th. As a reminder, persons must have received their second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine 6 months prior to seeking a booster shot. In international news, Germany has recorded almost 34,000 daily COVID cases in the past 24 hours, its highest number so far in what the minister is calling a massive pandemic of the unvaccinated. 16 million Germans have not had a jab. However, hospital intensive care cases are still lower than in spring. The World Health Organization has warned of a possible 500,000 more deaths in Europe by February. Britain granted conditional authorization on Thursday to the first pill shown to successfully treat COVID-19 so far. It is also the first country to okay the treatment from drug maker Merck, although it wasn't immediately clear how quickly the pill would be available. The pill was licensed for adults 18 and older who have tested positive for COVID-19 and have at least one risk factor for developing severe disease, such as obesity or heart disease. Patients with mild to moderate COVID-19 would take 4 pills of the drug, known as Molnupiravir, twice a day for 5 days. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky. This is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time on Radio Cayman. Open the eyes of my heart, open the eyes of my heart. I'm gonna walk them golden stairs. 'Cause I know my Jesus answers all my prayers. Praise time.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Praise time. There's nothing to go back to.
Give me Jesus in the morning.
For the God of the mountain is still God in the valley.
Shout with joy to God, all the earth sing glory to His name.
Praise time.
Jesus in the morning, yeah.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us tonight. Some open line. Susan's on the other end today. I always say to her, the camera should be in her part of the studio. Would be a lot better. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261, and share your thoughts with us. I would hope and pray, certainly pray more than just hope, that We are, in fact, in a very wonderful place in our history, enjoying a blessed land, a healthy democracy where people, no matter their position, no matter their title, whether they're employed or unemployed, retired or otherwise, working for the government through any capacity, or own their own businesses or employed within the private sector, that we never fail to appreciate the importance of freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, the movement, freedom of conscience and choice and the like. But in the same breath, that those freedoms have come at a significant cost, significant loss of life for people to protect those and defending against tyrants and dictators and despots and the like. But also, we need to ensure that they're exercised in a way that encourages free and fair discussion, and people are not punished for their views, but they're not, vitriolic and insightful and creating a ruckus and unnecessary nonsense. So I'm glad that we have that in our society. Let's go to the phones. Welcome, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling Green.
Hey, pleasant good afternoon to you, sir. How are you?
Just fine, thank you. Hope you're the same.
Amen. Thank God, sir. Thank you.
Much younger than I am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Whenever I call you, I give you my opinion.
Yes,
I
sir.
cannot give you other people's
Exactly.
opinions, so they often ask me to do that for them. They have a voice.
They do.
Yes, just going to say a few things.
Yes, sir.
Firstly, most people nowadays, they're not speaking directly to each other. If you notice, when people go into even a lunchroom where they're employed, everyone is on their cell phone. TikToking, whatever you call it, TikTok, and then there's also, and they're not speaking to each other. So that's a vast difference in what we were just 25 years ago.
True.
Complete difference. So we can't get opinions from each other. Nothing like that. You go back to work and that's it. And you park the same thing as parking time. That's what it is. That's not my way, but I'm too old to care about that now.
There you go.
I would suggest, that people come to the understanding of, I've often said it, and yesterday I heard my friend, I think it was yesterday, Mr. Ebanks there from West, talking about that we are a subservient parliament. Her Majesty's government in the United Kingdom is over us. And they are not like subservient in many respects. The Prime Minister there is an overall charge, and he makes decisions just like in the Prime Minister of every independent country.
Right.
It's a powerful position. He decides who stays as a minister. He can dismiss a minister.
Right.
He can't dismiss the person from his elected position as an elected representative, but he can dismiss the person, he or her, as a member of the cabinet and so forth.
Right.
That's their privilege. Here, the premier is first amongst equals, so he has quite a bit of power. We must always remember that. But we are a subservient democracy. Her Majesty's government, I'll repeat that, Her Majesty's government in the Cayman Islands is our government here. It's our system here.
Right.
And it's parliamentary, and it is adversarial. It's created that way. It was always that way. It will always be that way. And there is the opposition and there's the people in power. Many times they agree, many times they go together, but you wouldn't want them to always be rubber stamping everything the government does either. That's not what they're for. That's not what they're for. Much as people will say, this is what we want, everybody gets together. That's just wishful thinking, in my opinion.
Right.
Another thing is this. I've said this before several times. I wish that people would try to learn the history of the Second World War.
Right.
I said that they understand that changed the system in the world forever. Right? The second most important thing to the birth and life, death and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. The Second World War. Erwin Rommel, that famous German general, said that same thing the gentleman called and said. We have awoken the sleeping giant. Do you know who he was talking about? The United States. United States.
At that time,
China was around 3,000 years before the birth, or 2,000 years before the birth of Lord Jesus. Before the Second World War, up until 1939, the Japanese had already walked through China, walking through it like a hot knife through butter. Tremendous army. They had already killed over 10 million Chinese. There are reparations going on now. They're fighting back and forth about that. It was the United States, and to a lesser extent, but great sacrifices by Great Britain, who saved China. And that's why they really exist today, if you want to put it that way. Anyone who wants to find out about this can read it up, do some research and read up. Get your face out of computers and stuff.
Read a book, huh?
And nonsense.
Yep.
And learn the truth. Just 5 years after that, the Chinese stabbed America in the back with the Korean War created. They were warned. They were warned by several American generals and British people too, and Mr. Churchill himself. But anyway, put that aside. And we saw the Korean War and the creation of North Korea and what it has evolved into from then. With the refusal of Mr. Truman to listen to General MacArthur, how to deal with things, it wouldn't be what it is today. The same thing happened in the other United Nations war, an organization which I think, in my opinion, and I will not take this back, is akin to a blind guard dog without teeth. That is the United Nations, in my opinion. A blind guard dog without teeth.
On a leash.
Well, it doesn't matter anyway if he's on a leash or not, he's blind. Then we had the Vietnam War, the same thing, not listening to General Westmoreland, but in a much different way. America lost a lot of lives in both wars. And this is what we now have. The United States has several supercarriers, and the class below that, no other country has anything of their size, the Enterprise class below. The supercarriers are all nuclear powered, and the Enterprise class, one ship nuclear powered, the first nuclear powered carrier, way bigger than anything else. What China has is something below the size of the Midway class, which was biggest in the United States. The Second World War. I won't go into all that. They can read that up. One supercarrier and its battle fleet is equal to the entire military power of Italy. The entire military power of Italy, Air Force, Navy, Army, everything. We're just talking about one supercarrier of the United States. We're not talking about their Marines, their Special Forces, their the other navies, their Air Force, and so forth. So let us not go into this nonsense about annihilation and all this kind of thing. The good Lord will decide when to annihilate the nations of this earth. That's my belief. What we do now is try to hold up democracy the best we can. That's all we can do. The Western world is the pinnacle of democracy, whether we want to believe it or not. That includes England and those who follow the Western code I'm talking about, and the United States here. So let us not talk all this fallacy about China becoming this and China becoming that. They're on their way to try to do what they can do, disrupt things with their communism and so forth, and they are now the terrorists that we have to think about. Terrible, terrible, terrible people moving ahead strongly because of weak governments in the East and weak people, we see, and corrupt.
But wouldn't it also be the weak leadership of the West as well?
Well, right now, I won't say any more. I won't say any more.
Fair enough, sir.
Good. So anyhow, let us not bring the politics into it. I try to get out of that, but we will see. But as far as I'm concerned, the Western way has proven to be the best way, the democratic way, and the majority of Christianity really exists today, whether anyone wants to believe it or not, because of the powerful Christian forces in the United States. There are several still left in Europe, but they're falling because of weakness and weak leaders who can't decide whether they want to be communist, whether they want to be just liberal or whatever they want to be. But anyhow,
yes, sir.
We will see what obtains. We will see what obtains.
Right.
And as for prophecy, let's not call on Bob Marley. He was a great entertainer, great provider of music and so forth, like many others. Provided music and referred to different things in their life and saw struggles of humanity as any prophet. I don't think so. He was just a trying person and a great entertainer. He became very famous and a very good businessman. Have a wonderful day, sir. Thank
you too, sir. Thank you for sharing your opinion. And you heard it from him, best is best. He said it. I'm going to pause and take a break. I'll be joining our callers. If you call, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
In Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, it was around the same time as the emancipation process that permanent settlements, or rather resettlements, began on the islands, and was largely via the whites, who had never owned slaves. However, the first certain knowledge of settlement was during the early 1830s. The James Minot slave census of 1834 recorded that a Mr. William Page was living on Little Cayman with 6 slaves. The following year, Captain Pack arrived on Little Cayman to read the Emancipation Proclamation to Page and the slaves, after which the slaves are believed to have left.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced from Founded Upon the Seas, A History of the Cayman Islands and Their People by Michael Creighton and the New History Committee.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Good and cleaner.
Now is the time, and we are ready to help you with your household cleaning needs. And that is bedspreads, comforters, duvets, duvet covers, drapes, and so much more. All items at 10% off prepay, and turnaround time will be 2 to 3 days. Orders can be handled at all 3 stores: Elgin Avenue, Savannah Countryside, Eastern Avenue, drive-through, rain or shine. All stores close at 5:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Call 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. It is open line, and we encourage you, invite you, and in fact, because of you, it's a better program. Let's go to the phones. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, Brother G. Good afternoon, man. How are you?
How are you?
Well, I'm blessed and thankful. And yourself?
All right. There's a, I'll probably explore it some more, but there's a buzzword that we now have whenever there's a crisis that we're all in this together. And of course, that's the case with the COVID-19 and the virus. But I think that it is high time that our Parliament is convened on an urgent basis an amendment brought to the Labor Act 2021 revision along the following lines. Now, I just drafted something here, and but I'll explore it some more, but this is my drafting. Special leave, COVID-19 related, where an employee under a contract of employment contracts the COVID-19 virus and where a letter of confirmation has been issued by the Cayman Islands Health Services Authority or the Chief Medical Officer that the entirety of the prescribed period of self-isolation or quarantine be treated as special leave and be fully paid for by the employer. This is something now that is starting to rear its ugly head, where employees are under greater stress than they should.
Financial and otherwise.
Well, financial and otherwise.
Yeah.
And they're because nobody is coming to their rescue. They are bearing the burden of this additional stress, and I think that they should not. But the current Labor Act doesn't have the clarity that it should, and I think Parliament needs to take up the cause and issue a clarion call by amending the law to allow for special leave, COVID-related, and where a letter has been obtained by the Health Services Authority or the Chief Medical Officer,
making that isolation mandatory.
Making that isolation mandatory of no fault at all to the employee, because they for example, take my case. I speak for myself now.
Right.
In September, I was not feeling well. I had a cough, and it didn't want to go away. So I went to the health the health clinic to get tested just to see what it was, because to get some medication as well, because I was kind of getting worried why it didn't want to go away. I still have it, but it's there. While I was there, I came in contact. While I was there, sitting waiting on my turn to get attended to, I came in contact, and this is September, so I came in contact with a young man from the Georgetown Primary School who was there because he was feeling sick as well. His parents brought him, and there were probably others as well. But I was an innocent bystander, for the use of a better word.
Right.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm self-employed, but it almost closed me down because I was ordered to self-isolate for 15 days.
How do you meet your clients?
Right. And I really had to find ways of getting my laptop brought from my office to my home. I did some work, but I'm still trying to catch up.
Right.
This is now November. But if somebody, being self-isolated, you either you have days of famine, you have days of feast. But anyway, a person who is fully employed, they're expected, and they have obligations, financial and otherwise, externally, with banks and stuff, that they need to be paid. And they shouldn't have to be saddled with the stress of saying, okay, I'm sick, but I'm not getting paid for my, the employer says, listen, this is a new year, you didn't take none of your sick days, so I'm giving you your 10 days, but you're in for 15 days or 17 days. I'm not paying you for the 7. You can take it out of your vacation.
Right.
That is additional stress that the employee should not have to face.
But what about that employee who either very soon thereafter or within that calendar or financial year has now to go into another period of isolation, quarantine? I hear what you're saying, but let me then ask you from that perspective, and I think the many would say that what you're sharing at least warrants further exploration. But let's take it from the perspective of the employer, first the private sector employer, who's saying, but wait a minute, you're asking me to pay now for somebody who is non-productive. How can I afford that? How do you respond to that employer's charge?
We are in this together.
Okay, and then to the government.
This new normal, and this new normal that we're in, there are some.
So the greater good.
No, in this new normal that we're now in, we have some new features, and one of those must be fairness and equity.
Okay, so
equity to both parties. But certainly the employee should not be the one to actually lose out.
Okay, so let's dip a hand in and to pick a bank and take out another coin. The public sector. So we know that the government, again, just recently said it's going to allocate $1 million. We don't know how much has been spent so far. People have said 4, 5, 50 million. Who knows, right? We know the last administration said they were hemorrhaging whole pile of money every turn around, right? Let's ask the question: how is a government, so therefore us as a taxpayer, going to be able to continue to subsidize and support wherever the cause to help people so they don't starve to death when they're required, they're mandated now to go into self-isolation and quarantine? At some point, the money going to run out, right?
Well, the state shouldn't have to allocate funds for this at all, because at the end of the day, it's actually coming from each of us indirectly in any case.
Right.
But I don't think that this is another new line that the state should have to allocate in its national budget.
But how is it paid for?
To cover. How is it paid for?
Mm-hmm.
We are living in a new normal. We have a virus that is not going away anytime soon. It is a killer. It has now killed over 5 million people.
According to published reports, right?
Well, it's probably quite true.
Yeah, no. I'm not disputing. I'm saying this is what we understand.
Well, I'm not dipping into any conspiracy theories.
No.
I'm saying that if you go to many of those families and ask them, where's your loved one, they will slap you in the face because the loved one is dead.
My friend, I'm with you. 1%, as I said.
What I'm saying is that we need to amend the labor law urgently to allow for an equitable way of dealing.
Right,
with
but I agree with you. But what I'm asking for, somebody's going to pay for it. I mean, the piper is now playing the tune, and somebody got to pay. How it's going to be paid, who's going to pay for it, and what's going to cost us, and how we're going to fund it.
Well, I think the employer may have to pay for it, and probably there may be an actual procedure where the employer can make an application then to the government, and the government may actually underwrite 50% of the cost or something like that.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I don't think that the government should pay 100% of it.
Fair enough.
And I don't think that the employee should pay, as they are right now, 100% of it.
So
I think there should be a shared, at the very least,
right.
a shared cost.
Okay.
But certainly, I am more in favor of the employer bearing the cost, and then government underwriting some of it. But certainly, the employee should not factor into it at all.
So let me delve into your great intellect and ask one of the questions relative to sick days, because I think as you drafted that proposal, like you said, that just your view as a proposed amendment, it reads well. Let me then ask, there have been a number of people, employees, who said that their employers, as I referenced very early in today's discussion, listen, sick days or not, you got COVID, Bobo, you're on your own. We're not paying you. You got to stay home. And whether you go there for a day or 10, you're not getting paid. This don't count. And if you exhausted, sick days, too bad, too sad. So how is it, and hopefully I'm framing it properly, but just deliberately, how is it that some employers allegedly are being able to say to the employee, you're not being paid for today, you got to stay home, and we're not counting this as sick days?
Oh, no. That's why it needs to be clarified, as I said, in the labor law.
No, I hear you.
As a matter of urgency. Because even the 10 days sick leave, yes, that could be what I'm saying. Perhaps you might have to enhance that very section of the labor law,
right.
But have it very clear that this COVID is not to be misconstrued as being part of your sick leave, your normal sick leave. Because if a person is sick, otherwise outside of that, that's a different thing altogether.
Right.
Or if they want to commingle it, then increase the thing to 20 days.
Right. Which is
or 25 days.
Yeah, I won't say who shared it, but moments before you call, someone who whispers to me for now and again use the same phrase and the same timeline. Let me ask one other question in relation to this thing. We are hearing, again, we don't necessarily want to get engaged in anything that isn't substantiated, but we're understanding from employees and presumably employers that in instances, so far isolated, the employee is sniffling, seem to be concerned about whether they're affected, infected, or somehow impacted, and the employer is saying, okay, what you do is you work in the back office, you go work in the warehouse, you go work away from the customers, see how it goes, right? Sometimes fair enough. Sometimes the employee is concerned about it, but decides to sort of withdraw, but still coming to work, limited interactions as they like, because they can't afford to be away from work. Not only the pay is lost, but the job needs to be done and the thing. So they don't feel too bad. Just like, as an example, just like many people, and there are those of us who say, well, this is probably not the right thing to do. They know that they have a cold, the sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, kind of congested feeling, but they come to work. They don't want to be absent for a sick day. In their minds, they have this very, very strong work ethic. So to exhibit that, they have to work. Boy, you got to drag them away from that workplace on the gurney because they got to be at work every day. That's their mantra.
Well, yeah, I know. But I think also what my idea does, one of the things that employees have to their disadvantage on many occasions is that, and what my little drafting here to amend the law would put in place is they would also make it it would create an incentive for employees to force their employers to have in place a contract of employment. Doing the amount of employers on this island, and it's a part of the Labor Act, but there's no enforcement. The amount of employers on this island who do not and have never had a contract of employment, or if they have one, it is very, very watered down from what the Labor Act which is calling for. And I think what employees need to push for and demand is that they get a contract of employment in accordance with the labor law at the prescribed time that they join the company, or if they don't have it, they can get it at any time, but it has to be backdated in terms of their starting date. But I think employees need to have their protection in place, and it needs to be enforced by the Labor Department to make checks.
Take a breath. Take a breath. One quick question. No. You say good things. One quick question. In relation to contracts of employment, we are being told that many employees now are subjected to decisions and little things that are happening that are outside the scope of the contract, where there's one, who are being told that the employer can amend the contract unilaterally to include this, that, to exclude that, and the next thing.
Dwayne, that's why it perhaps is a good thing I called in today, because of course my company, we specialize in this kind of stuff.
So let me ask you, are you able to engage? I know Ms. Susan is saying, but we'll now take the break and this not Lynn. Do you want to hang on and we can engage further after the break?
Please,
Okay, please stay tuned, because sometimes people are talking, others listening. We can hear things. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
We may be in Christmas shopping mode, but 'tis the flu season too. Savannah Pharmacy has immune system boosters for the entire family, with a range of vitamins and supplements. Their knowledgeable and courteous pharmacists are always available to offer the best advice and products. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
You can now register online to receive a securely verified digital copy of your COVID-19 vaccination status with QR code through the MyHSA patient portal. Sign up is available online and at all HSA locations. All you need is your photo ID showing date of birth and an email address. Visit hsa.ky and click the My HSA Patient Portal icon to get started.
What do you do if you have to go to a shelter? To help you safely prepare, evacuate, and shelter while protecting yourself and others from COVID-19 this hurricane season, here's some tips from the Public Health Department. If you must go to a shelter, be ready to protect yourself and others. Practice social distancing of at least 6 feet from others. Follow public health's preventative actions. Wash your hands with soap and water, often if possible, or use hand sanitizer, cover coughs and sneezes, and wear masks or cloth face coverings. Get your COVID-19 vaccine when eligible. Avoid sharing food and drink with anyone. For more guidance to update your emergency hurricane plans due to coronavirus, visit www.caymanprepared.gov.ky. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Thanks to Miss Susan for making it happen all behind the scenes, and to our caller online, George, for staying on. Hey, thanks very much for your...
That's okay. I think when we ended, you were talking about some employers who unilaterally changed. Well, yeah, I'm going to answer that, but also I want to say I'm not going to be on here long to give a national lesson, but but on employee rights. But I can tell you this, that I'm sure occurs, but again, I want to give my voice loud and clear today to all workers who are out there. All workers who are out there, you have some inalienable rights. You have rights and human rights, labor law rights. If you have a contract of employment, or if you don't, let's start off with, if you don't have a contract of employment, you, by law, you are entitled to one. And it must be in compliance with the labor law.
Right.
Number two, if you do have a contract of employment and the employer decides to make changes to it, you have a right to march yourself down at no risk to you at all to the labor office and say, my employer changed my contract of employment and I did not agree with it, or I had no notice of it, or I didn't even know about it. He just sent a note and said, your contract has been changed, and I'm not in favor of it. Of course, they can change it by actually writing a note, but again, the employee must be involved to say, okay, now you've passed your 4 years, you now move from 2 weeks to 3 weeks, or you've gone to 10 years, so you now go to 4 weeks. That kind of stuff is perhaps done every year when you sit down for your appraisal with your employer. But where an employer decides to change a contract of employment, however shabby it actually may be, that's not allowed. It's illegal, and the employee at no risk to them of being sanctioned or fired or whatever.
But
can go down
George,
to the Department of Labor and say, this is what happened to me.
Yeah, well, let me ask, we seem, again, just following media reports, even here locally, inference may be, as it is in looking at it internationally, that governments seemingly have said to employers that we're not going to sanction you for doing this and requiring certain things of your employees and the like. In the Cayman context, for argument's sake, we understand that employees have been told definitively by their employers that you need to take the vaccination. If you don't take it, you don't have a job. All right? Is that...
Well, that's... I don't think that... I heard somebody on your show some time back. I didn't have all the facts.
Right.
That sounds a bit draconian to me, and really, I think that I certainly wouldn't condone that at all.
Right. But what if that's happening?
Someone has a right, huh?
What if that is actually happening?
Well, I think the old people say there's two sides to every story.
Three. Yours, mine, and the truth.
Perhaps three, but I would want to hear the complete story before I even attempt to adjudicate.
Okay, so what about the instances?
But I'm talking now. My call, I didn't want to get out in the Great Barrier Reef.
No, we're still within the fringe and reef, man.
Can talk about it some more, but I want to allow other people to probably call in and support this idea that I just brought up, because the one thing that we can't do, yes, we must strive and seek towards some kind of equity to address this issue, but one thing we cannot do is bury our heads in the proverbial sand.
Fair enough.
And say, no, this doesn't. It exists, but it is no business of mine.
Right.
We have employees. They're living people. They have rights. They have families. They have children. If they contact and are positive and are tested positive for a killer virus and are prescribed by the Chief Medical Officer of Health to self-quarantine, to quarantine for so many days, they should be paid for that, and then there must be some kind of mechanism where perhaps the state can actually underwrite that.
Fair enough. A good proposal, but let me ask, I mean, in addition to that, is this not also complementary to it? If the employer can't and should not be able to unilaterally change the contract, if the employer should not be, and if your amendment as proposed sounds, at least invites reasonable discussion, should the employer not also be allowed to force employees to do certain things? Now, we understand that the public health legislation components come into play, but isn't it all interlinked?
Dwayne, I have taken the vaccine. 3 or 4 billion people around the world have taken the vaccine, one dose at least. The evidence and the risk must be on the side of the vaccine as of now, because otherwise, you would have seen billions of people falling dead.
Right. No. I'm not.
So I'm saying that I think I had the booster yesterday. I can't decide the sore spot by the needle went in. That's it. I think it is a proven point, and here again, I'm actually going down to the actual Great Barrier Reef, because this is not in sync with what I'm talking about with the medical leave.
But is it interlinked though? It is.
But I'm saying that and I lost my train of thought now.
No, you're saying that the vaccine should be this and that and the next thing.
I'm saying employers. I cannot. Some people have some very, very fickle excuses as to why they're not taking the vaccine.
No, fair enough. But George, respectfully, that aside, and despite the statistical analysis of whether it's safe or not safe and the percentage of taking it, take all out of the equation for a second. What I'm asking is, your initial comments and how you prefaced it, so going on that premise, should an employer be able to force an employee to do something like medical treatment if, for whatever reason, the employee does not want to?
No. See, that you're getting into areas where you can have different meanings as to medical treatment. I am talking about as I said, I've now gotten down in the Great Barrier Reef where we're gonna obscure what I call.
No, not at all.
I am saying that it is rational to take the vaccine. It is irrational, some of the excuses and nonsense and misinformation and disinformation that I'm hearing out there as to why people are not taking it.
No, that aside, let's ignore that part.
I don't think that if an employer or even the government comes up with a scheme that says you must take the vaccine for the safety of the majority, and the evidence is pointing and has pointed and has pointed now for the last year, where the vaccine is the only proven.
Well, it can't be the last year. It's only been out for a couple of days, right?
Well, the only proven solution to this COVID-19 is the vaccine that has been approved now by the FDA. And now, at first they were saying it wasn't approved now because it's approved now to come up with some other excuse.
Yeah. But
we need again what I said earlier.
Yeah.
Part of my opening statement. We need fairness and equity.
Right.
And equity and fairness springs between the pendulum on both sides of the equation, and that means employers and employees. We have to be fair and equitable, because we have a virus out there that's killing people, and we have got to mitigate against it, and we've got to do everything we can. Now, however, and that's why this thing is actually completely muddled again, because, for example, how can you not being vaccinated and then you contract the virus, and your employer has a kind of a policy in place saying, I want my employees to be vaccinated, but then there's 4 or 5 employees who are some mavericks, and they say no, I can't do that, and now that employee gets sick, and they're going to be quarantined for 15 days. The question can arise, and perhaps should arise: should the employee be forced to pay for quarantine for that 15 days to somebody who really is just riding into the mouth of danger every day that they're not vaccinated?
But you see, now there you get into conjecture and subjective views. I wanted to stick to the sort of.
Well, no. You have carried me there.
No. What I was asking you is, based on what you shared, and I think your substantive point relative to making, an amendment for special leave warrants further exploration, right? But I'm asking, can and should an employer be allowed to unilaterally change a contract to include this, that, and the next thing? And I think we agree that certainly is something that you shared. The employer doing so warrants the employee being able to go to the labor board, the labor office, and making a complaint, right?
Yeah, because it isn't allowed. It's illegal.
Right. Okay. So, one final question, if you would. We understand, I think, even somewhat limited construction of the labor law, that a contract of employment should be in hand for every employee. In absence of that, is the onus on the employer to provide one? And if one isn't provided, is there provision for sanction?
Yes,
and so?
Yes. Again, what I said earlier when I started, there's no enforcement by the labor office on these things.
But that's against the employer or the employee?
But there's no enforcement. But the more we shout it from the hilltops,
right,
for people to hear, especially employees,
right. But just for clarity,
that they have a vested right,
right,
in this fairness and equity, the better results we're going to have.
So
I say it again in closing.
But George,
well, of course, if you want me to go,
that's more clarity. So the employer,
I say it again.
You can repeat it, but just hang on. The employer, is it the employer who would be sanctioned for failing to provide a contract or employment, or is it the employee?
No, the employer.
Okay.
But I'm saying what I'm shouting from the hilltop now
right,
is to hit the ears of employees, because they can be the greatest partner
right,
in this injustice where it exists. Employees should know that they are entitled by law to a contract of employment that is in compliance or is in keeping then
with the labor law
provisions of the Labor Act 2021 revision. And where they don't have a contract of employment, and where they do have one, they are entitled to also take that contract of employment themselves on their free time down to the Department of Labor and ask the Department of Labor if they could look at that contract of employment to let them know whether, or they could come to somebody who does consulting in that regard. But certainly, some contracts of employment are not what the paper is actually written on,
right,
is what I'm trying to say. But every employee is entitled to a contract of employment. And where they don't have one, where none has been given to them, they should say, where is my contract to your employer? The same thing, where the same right, every employee who is on a work permit is entitled to a copy of their work permit.
All right. Well, I certainly appreciate you sharing that. And it may not be a clarion call, but it may be a bugle being beating against a bongo. Let's pause and take that break, though. When we come back, more Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Savannah Pharmacy. Shop local and get a head start on your Christmas shopping. For ladies' handbags, clothes, shoes, fragrance, candles, and cosmetics with the newest Farmhouse Fresh line of skincare. For the gentlemen, clothes, shoes, fragrances, gift sets, and toys and games for the kids. Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs. And convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
All the world's greatest inventions were initially misunderstood.
What?
Except for KFC's Pizza, a pizza made with all chicken and no crust, tomato sauce and pepperoni, topped off with delicious melted cheese. An invention that is understood from the very first bites. Pizza from KFC. No need to explain. You just need to taste it.
Try Pizza at KFC Shedden Road and KFC Baytown today.
Do you want to serve your community? How about learning new and exciting skills? The Cayman Islands Regiment is now accepting applications for volunteers. Caymanian and permanent resident applicants should be between 18 and 50 with a clean police record. No military experience is required. Apply online at www.gov.ky/CI Regiment. Applications close on November 15th, 2021.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. You know, radio is radio. Television is, well, one-eye monster. The idiot box, my friend calls it. But it's informative. Sometimes it's engaging. Sometimes, well, it's just whatever it is, right? Death to the brain cells, some would say. 949-80-37, 1-800-534, whatever the number is, talk. Or WhatsApp 925-3261. The last caller, I always think that he speaks after he's given some consideration, and his proposal for the amendment warrants discussion. Let's go to the phones, huh? Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Starting Dwayne, number one, you think, sir?
Good afternoon. I'm glad to hear from you. How are you, sir?
I'm not doing good. I'm on very, very tender road.
Oh, man, I if it's okay to say publicly, you've been in my thoughts and prayers.
Anything I say, I got cancer of the liver, so who knows, I might just drop down there right here.
Well, I pray not. And you've been personally in my thoughts and prayers, and, I know as many others, so,
I am one person free to say something wrong with me.
No, man. You've been an inspiration to many. You have a sense of courage that hopefully more of us would not be so fearful of speaking our minds, huh?
You sure you're not pretending that?
You can accuse me of many things,
I'm not accusing you.
Not you specifically. But one thing that you probably will never be able to accuse me, that is being unafraid to speak my mind. I
was just asking,
Mm-hmm. No, man, not at all, man, not at all.
So you couldn't carry me court for that?
No, sir.
Because your last two lawyers, boy, they'd have to back you up.
But see, the thing is, why I was, because of you and people like you. I think personally, and I know others have been encouraged to think things, to say things, and to share things. And unfortunately, it's gotten many of us in hot water, have caused many of us to be shunned or at least scorned or somehow looked at in a light. But I can't accept that people who have fought and died for freedoms will be so disrespected that I am denied the right to voice an opinion, to step up and stand up and speak out. Now, I should be mindful and pray for wisdom and knowledge and understanding that I do it properly. But the day that, you, Mr. Dolan, or me or anybody else is denied a voice is the day that we're living in a space where we have to question, is it worth it?
Well, anyway, I listen to you.
Yes, sir. And I'm glad that you were able to call today.
Yes, I listen to you nearly every day when I'm home on the block.
Yes, sir. Yes.
When I came on, a different story. Because sometimes I'm in the hospital, sometimes I'm down at the cancer center, different place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anyway, I just wanted, two things I want to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to find out, is it raining, Cayman?
Raining? Right now, Miss Susan? It wasn't earlier, but it rained a fair bit in the last couple of days.
Okay, I want to find out if the premier and all this party, if every one of them had to go to the parking lot, go park, and walk out in rain, or wait for somebody to bring an umbrella, if every one of them are going to that, or they're going to just drive up by the place, step out the car, and the car gone. That's what puzzles me with this stupid law they got going on down in Grand Cayman now. And I don't care who like it, can be from the governor straight to the queen, cup of tie.
Yeah. When you say stupid law, specifically what are you referring to?
You cannot go and land off people
at the airport
without taxi license or something. You have to go into some parking place and get some ticket, like when you paid something to have the right.
Yeah, well, apparently that's the new protocols coming out of the UK, so we employ that.
Tell the UK in Cayman it is unknown. That's what UK stands for.
But they say it's to increase, the safety of travel and the like,
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
If someone needs to be there, don't deny them, because I can't hardly walk now.
Right.
My leg has gotten worse.
Yeah.
And last time I was coming up, last week, Saturday, I think it was, man, to get somebody to come out of the meeting, I told my son I got lost. And he went inside to go look.
Wow.
And carry my bag and thing.
Yeah.
And, man, I tell you, they just get to me. And yesterday evening,
yes, sir,
I felt so bad. I had to go to the hospital around 2 o'clock or so. And then
yes, sir,
the two side doors that they have at the front, they're going to fix them now that you can't enter them. You can only exit them.
Yeah, you have to go through the main part now.
Yeah, the main part is where they got that place where you got to drag your foot, go up.
Yep.
With railing while using a walker. Even somebody said to me, Mr. Hunter, you sure you can make it through the door? I told her, yes, ma'am, thank you. I got one hand on that one on the walker. And I finally made it inside. I want the Minister of Health to put cap on and straighten that place out so you can drive the car under there. Somebody can land you off right there and you can walk through any one of them side doors. As I've been saying long ago.
Right.
To every government, I don't care who it is. Moses O'Connell, Julian O'Connor, do the work. Get the thing straight, not for Cayman back.
Right. Now, you shared that there were two things you called for. I want to make sure that you get a chance to share your thoughts, all right? You remember the second one?
The first one was the airport.
The airport, and then this one with the hospital.
And this one is the hospital thing.
Right.
Nothing against the hospital staff.
No.
I get first-class treatment there.
Right. No.
Okay? But I was just talking about the way things is.
Well, what you're sharing would benefit, many people, not just you, right?
Yes, especially if it's raining. You can't get inside there if you're in the parking lot rain.
That is true.
You got to sit down out there, or whether you come out from the doctor in the pouring rain for the next hour.
Yeah.
You got to wait if you don't have your big first class English umbrella.
Mr. Dolan, boy.
Look, I don't care who like what I say. What I got to say, I'm going to say it.
Well, thank you for
I just hope every one of them up in that government listen to me and stop worrying about that dollar Because that's all they worry about.
Well, a dollar without health is not wealth, is it?
A dollar without what?
Your health is not wealth. Right?
It's not a good thing, no. And I still think
yes, sir.
half of these things that they're talking about people sick, I still think that chief medical officer need to get himself straightened out and check things out good, because I don't think half of them is true.
Well, there's increasing concerns about, how things are handled globally, so it may be timely.
Well, I really hope he got good time to put on it and make sure he'll watch himself. Have a good battery there.
Yes, sir. Okay, any other final thoughts before we close?
If it is, I'll make you know another day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, prayers to you and good to hear from you. Hopefully we get a chance again when you're ready to chat. Okay, sir?
If I'm home here, I'll listen to you. But if not, I just don't feel up to it.
I understand, sir. I understand. Take care, Mr. Dolan. And thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, and tell them last two lawyers have a good day.
Will do. Blessings to you. All right, let's pause and take a short break, maybe prayerfully. Think about it. Pray for those as we enjoy the break. And join us after.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Police are reminding the public that fake apartment rental ads are being posted to local online shopping site EK. The Financial Crimes Unit reminds folks to be very careful about transferring funds online. This particular scam involves an apartment rental where the victim is encouraged to wire money to an overseas account purportedly run by Airbnb, but in reality is totally unaffiliated. After the transaction goes through, the scammer removes the online ad, ignores all follow-up emails, and the victim is never able to recover their losses. In international news, the UK Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency said Thursday it had authorized Merck and Ridgeback Biotherapeutics oral antiviral molnupiravir to treat mild to moderate COVID-19 in adults at risk for severe illness. It is the world's first oral antiviral to be authorized anywhere for the treatment of COVID-19. Europe is facing a potentially devastating winter that could see 500,000 people die with COVID-19. The World Health Organization warned on Thursday as it sounded the alarm over a surge in cases and bemoaned stuttering vaccination rollouts on parts of the continent. Much of Europe is battling spikes in infections, with Germany on Thursday reporting its highest number of daily new cases since the pandemic began. And in a dire new warning, WHO Regional Director said the pace of transmission across the region was of grave concern. And the Biden administration announced Thursday that its vaccine rules applying to private businesses with 100 or more employees, certain healthcare workers, and federal contractors will take effect January 4th. The rules stipulate that employees that fall into those groups will need to have received the necessary shots to be fully vaccinated, either 2 doses of Pfizer or Moderna's vaccine or 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine by January 4th. Biden touted new vaccine requirements rules released in a statement calling on employers to act going forward. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanna Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
We may be in Christmas shopping mode, but 'tis the flu season too. Savannah Pharmacy has immune system boosters for the entire family with a range of vitamins and supplements. Their knowledgeable and courteous pharmacists are always available to offer the best advice and products. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway. Open 24 hours.
But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us here on Open Line 949-8037 1-800-534-8255 or WhatsApp 925-3261. if you want to share your thoughts with us. Of course, the phones are open if you want to call and share. Toll free with the compliments of Flow, 1-800-534-8255. Or if you're not able, or you prefer just to dial, 4 digits less, well, 949-8037. WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts equally. We've got some information to share with you about the Airports Authority. And it's a press release from the end of August this year relative to the changes about the parking and the movements to and fro at the airport. So let's get that to you in a second. And maybe take some calls once they're on the line. We'll go to the phones. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Oh, not too bad. Not the best, not the worst.
Oh, man. But, it'll get better, man. It'll get better.
Yes, sir. I want to tell you a story about the 40 Thieves.
The 40 Thieves?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is elected or appointed 40? All right.
Well, I couldn't tell you really, but the problem that they are giving me, I could never tell you.
Okay.
Yes, sir, the 40 Thieves.
All right, I'll try to follow you, right? So, talk to me.
Well, I guess at a later date I'll probably speak about it, but for right now I can't say too much really.
No, that's okay, man. That's okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. So other than that, now you're moving about in our community. You're aware of what's going on. You have an opinion. Is there anything very important to you that you want us to know about?
Well, apparently, there was the other person that wanted my last dollar, but no, I couldn't even, I couldn't tell you the way in which I really have no idea in which how the 40 Thieves work against me.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what you do, right? Because recognizing that increasingly, we certainly have a lot on our plates and a lot of things that we're concerned about. You put it in perspective. You collect your thoughts, and when you're ready, you share them. And you can show me privately if you want, or when you're ready, we can talk another time. Thanks very much, man. And this is where increasingly we see that in society sometimes we just need a little space and a little place in order to collect our thoughts. Sometimes the quiet, helps us. Sometimes, we need to be near the surf because the undulation of the waves, that feeling of the sand under our feet, invigorates the body, as it were, as it soothes the mind. 949-8037. Toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. As we wait for the next call to be queued up, could we share with you what we were provided with regarding the caller prior relative to the Cayman Airports Authority's decision of the new sort of parking regime, if we can put it that way. And this was published and was to commence August the 30th this year, where there's only authorized public transportation will be permitted to drop off or pick up passengers at curbside in front of the main terminal, as announced by the Cayman Airports Authority, which, as we know, operates both the Owen Roberts International as well as Charles Kirkconnell International on the BRAC. So all other vehicular traffic will be routed to the short-term or long-term parking lots, where the standard parking rates will apply, which will come into effect in October. So this was sent out as of prior to August this year, and it did share that the month of September those rates would have been waived. It says a drop-off zone in the short-term parking lot will be allocated for those people dropping off departing passengers. Drivers who are picking up arriving passengers must also park in the short-term parking lot. Parking will be free for up to 5 minutes, after which time the standard parking rates will apply. And here's some, Q&As as it were. Question, why were these changes to vehicular traffic flows entering and exiting the airports implemented? And the answer provided was, as airport security continues to evolve globally, the Cayman Islands Airports Authority is committed to mitigating risk and providing an excellent airport experience. These changes are a necessity in order to comply with international civil aviation regulatory requirements that specify that unknown or unvetted vehicles are not permitted to be within 30 meters of any airport terminal building. The other question, why are only quote-unquote authorized vehicles permitted curbside access? The answer provided was, authorized vehicles include taxis, pre-booked bus operators and limousines, which are considered quote-unquote vetted vehicles, having gone through a rigorous airport and public transport screening and licensing process, whereas private vehicles are considered quote-unquote unvetted vehicles. Only authorized vehicles are permitted curbside access in front of the terminal building, and as with the new airport landside security requirement, unvetted vehicles are not permitted to be within 30 meters of the airport terminal. Another question and answer. Question, why should people with reduced mobility park? The provided answer, well, people with reduced mobility may park in the handicapped parking spaces allocated in the short-term parking lot. A parking permit is required to park in the handicapped parking spaces. Additionally, assistance will be provided for passengers with reduced mobility through the use of the airline's wheelchair service and an electric golf cart operated by the airport customer service personnel. Question, what is the purpose of the 5-minute drop zones in short-term parking? Provided answer, prior to this new airport landside security requirement, people dropping off departing passengers curbside were not permitted to park and wait. The 5-minute drop zone in the short-term parking lot provides a safer alternative for dropping off departing passengers and ensures a more consistent flow of traffic. It says parking would be free for up to 5 minutes for those people using the drop zone, after which the standard parking rates apply. Question, how will departing passengers be assisted in the short-term and long-term parking lots with their luggage and in inclement weather conditions? So the provided answer, porters will be available to assist passengers with their luggage, or passengers may use the airport luggage carts to carry their luggage to a terminal at no cost to them. Airport customer service personnel will provide umbrellas to assist passengers in inclement weather conditions. Now, we know that the Airports Authority had provided that to us long before the 30th of August, so we just had a chance, and thanks to the wonderful management here for making sure that we have it readily available. Let's take this next call. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Afternoon. How are you today?
I'm very, very well blessed.
Amen, amen.
A rough regular poor sober and ugly still though,
Well, it could be worse,
Oh, much worse.
Yeah, man. You could
much worse, because ugly is the best part of it,
Under that loving yoke, my friend.
Yes, sir. It's under God's loving yoke.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
With number one, Mr. Dolan Hunter, he's not wrong,
Okay.
Sterling, my logic behind the whole thing is it is a money-making racket. It's not anything about security. Because I can hire a taxi, just for argument's sake, hire a taxi to carry me to the airport. If they're talking about security, go in there with explosives, and what happens? The taxi driver himself could be mental and go in there to wait, you would say, for passengers, but he not waiting for passengers. What he waiting for is the opportunity for when passengers are on the ground. So don't tell me that it's for security and about they gone through vigorous. I go through a vigorous inspection or whatever else on my vehicle today, and I leave there to go to the airport. I can pick up anything at that point in time and take there. So it's not about security.
But as you share, and I pray that this isn't the mindset, but a licensed vetted operator could inadvertently pick up somebody who, for whatever reason, has an unfortunate device on their
That's
person.
That's what I just said.
I'm repeating it, and
Yeah.
that innocent bystander as a driver is now a casualty, collateral damage.
Yes.
And now I'm mindful of those who have traveled to different parts of the world, including Israel, who have shared that the vetting process miles and miles out before you get into the airport zone. Now you might say, well, that's because of the peculiarities of the region and the like. Those would know that in London and other places at one point in time, it was almost like a police state in terms of the security measures employed.
Sterling, those people were on your show, I think, and if I know for sure on Mr. O'Connor's show, and I asked the question that you would say basically what I just said, and they say, "Oh, it's all over the world," which is untrue. It's untrue because Florida still is the same way it was yesterday and the day before. Nothing has changed there. You go to any of the Caribbean islands, it's still the same.
But do you
Bermuda from my we call it research and stuff, is still the same.
Right.
So it is a money making thing. And talking about the people coming to use assist those that are in need from handicap, that is rubbish. Nobody's outside, nobody's anywhere.
But let me then ask, right, maybe two things first. In the Cayman context, since this is where we speak, maybe have you been too lax, too casual in the past relative to security and the like? Thinking everybody is nice and kind and considerate and careful and, not bent on certain acts?
I don't think so, Sterling.
Okay.
I don't think so. We're bending over backwards for people. Yes. But when it comes to the security here, trust me, you go through the ringer.
Okay.
Compared to other places. In the States, Florida, for example, we fly into Miami. That's second home to most Caymanians. And you walk in that airport, you can get that plane with your luggage, whatever. Some is in the hand luggage, and you can go through security with a bullet in your hand luggage and come to Cayman Islands.
And then you get,
then you on your way out, they catch you with it. So don't tell me that Cayman not stringent on their security.
Right. But look at then, and if anybody is mistaken, I repeat what I hear a lot of the young people saying because I share their view. That very ugly, hideous design that is the airport, right? And I'm not trying to offend anybody, just the architects and whatever went behind it. It doesn't look like any fitting for a Caribbean island, and certainly, as men have shared, doesn't do anything to help when it's raining, right? So could that be part of the problem? We've created this monstrosity that is just an eyesore.
That's another story, Sterling Dwayne. I remember when Mose and the chief airport authority man came onto the radio, and they were talking about the airport. I personally called in and asked them about the jetways and so forth. No, there weren't any jetways.
But not even the jetways.
I said, well, are provisions in the plans that you can do it? No was the answer again. I had the privilege of seeing and working on the drawings. And there is no way in hell that even in the future, if they wanted to put jetways in, that they can do it.
Right. Now, I know we have a break, and if you want to stay online, we can chat with you after. But as we go into the break, though, we are cognizant, given the relative small size of our parking lot to our airport, and when we come out and get into the terminal, the counters are right there. Miami Airport, you reference, some days you feel like you're walking weeks before you get from where you entered to where you got to go check in. So
that's not so. That's not so.
No, in all cases, right? But sometimes, no.
Because you can be dropped off right by the gate. I've done it many times, so I know.
Right there. Okay. Yeah. All right, man. Well, listen, any other thoughts? If not, we'll take the break and then chat with you again.
Sure.
All right. We'll take this break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years.
So much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments November 8th to the 20th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancement, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles or have any skin disorders and skin cancers, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.portercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That's 946-9020.
The Cayman National Cultural Foundation is pleased to present My Art is My Life, an exhibition of the intuitive art of Cayman's own visionary, Miss Lassie. Visit Miss Lassie's home, located at the intersection of Walkers Road and South Sound Road at the Mind's Eye Education Center, to view these beautiful and inspired works of art. November 5th through the 13th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Admission is free, but donations are appreciated. Call 949-5477 or visit artscayman.org for more information.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks for the caller for hanging on and sharing his thoughts as we go right back to the phone. Hey, appreciate it, man. You were talking and we were listening. All right.
Both.
That's what makes it good dialogue.
We were talking about the jetways and so forth.
Right.
Sterling, if you travel to Kingston in the past 10 years, 15 years, I think it's like close to 15, they redid the Kingston, which I think is Michael Manley's airport.
Norman Manley, is it?
Norman Manley.
Yeah.
And they put in jetways there. Now, you're going to tell me that Cayman couldn't have made provisions for it? That's first and foremost. But they got these plans out of Canada. And they're even the waving gallery was taken out. Now, for security purposes, okay? You're going to tell me that you couldn't have put the waving gallery there with glass?
But do we have glass now?
No, they got glass there, but what I'm saying is there's no waving gallery, so you can't go up there to see anybody or see them even walking out to the plane.
Right.
If you got the security glass like the rest of the airport has, you can't break that.
Yeah, but when I look at... Yeah, go ahead.
It's all... it's all a pile of wasted space on that second floor because you can't use it. You can't even put an office up there, Sterling.
Yeah. I guess sometimes when we design and build things, maybe we're making edifice onto ourselves. Maybe when we're looking at things, or we're looking not always at the aesthetic, but certainly not at the functional use of it. All right.
Yeah, but they had warning because many people spoke about it.
Right. I mean, I think to my friends who are architects, and I think Sorensen, one of the famous ones, I often reference in his airport designs. But you are, if I listen to you correctly, perhaps correct in saying that maybe the design aesthetic could have been a little bit different, not just in trying to keep with the Caribbean vernacular, but maybe more conducive to what were the expectations of the populace.
They had one plan, Sterling, that this was just after Ivan, to rebuild the airport. Mark Alpine was built and designed contractor for it. They scrapped that. That had plans for second floor usage and jetways.
The question, though, if I can ask you, I mean, it's probably moot now, but there have been some who would go back to even prior to that. And I think probably even the early 90s may be one of the later recollections for some, in that consideration was being had to whether the airport itself should be moved further out east somewhere to redevelop anew and allow what an airport is for proper function and expansion, and then this will need to become something else, whether an executive airport or the like. What I've heard many question is the last administration's expenditure on the airport. Is it value for money? Is it what it was to be, and are the cost overruns truly understood? And what is it going to sort of place financially on the airport's authority to own, operate, and manage it, the taxpayers and the like, and how are we sort of benefiting long term if and when we resume travel transatlantic and the like? So with all that in mind, what are we doing to ensure that what we do today is sowing good seed, and as our fathers and forefathers talked about, and that means women as well, we're making provision for future growth. What is it they talk about? Future proof?
Yeah, well, they didn't look no further than their nose.
Did they look that far?
No, I didn't think they got that far, no.
Okay.
Because they were saying, it's going to be for at least another 25 or 30 years down the road. By the time they finished the expansion, it was already too small. So they didn't look as far as their nose. Because they knew the load capacity that was coming in. And, I mean, you get a British Airways flight, for example, which is a 777, with maybe nearly 500 people. I'm not sure how much they're carrying.
Yeah.
But I know it might be close to that because they're more than double the size of Cayman Airways. And Cayman Air carry maybe 150 or more. So, I mean, when you look at that and you got 3-4 big jets coming in all one time, you got 2,000-3,000 people, you would say, back to back on that. When you look now at the proposed, or it's not proposed anymore, it's enacted now, parking arrangements or drop-off arrangements. If you got, let's say, I can put it a small number, 500 people in rental cars coming to drop their family off because they're not going at the same time, but they come to drop their people off. Just picture and imagine going into that one gate. That's a needle's eye now. Where is the traffic going to back up to? Is it going to back up to the yacht club, or is it going to back up toward Foster's? Either way, you're going to have, let's say, 500 cars backed up because they're going into one place, one gate, a needle's eye.
Yeah.
You got to stop, pull a ticket. You got to wait for the gate to open, then you got to drive back in. It is ridiculous. Nobody stop and think. All this think, how we can make this money back that we lost in COVID.
Well, this is where, as you shared, maybe the thinking needs to be more long term, but we need to also be considerate of people's immediate impact as well. Any final thoughts as we close out today's discussion?
No, doing that be all. I just looked at the time as well.
Yeah, man, no, thank you. And Miss Susan, you must have heard her whisper in my ear. Boy, I gotta go home, you know. Just kidding. Hey, thanks very much, man.
You're welcome.
Have a good afternoon.
You too, Dan.
All right. And to our listeners, thank you for sharing. And if there's something to say that you don't agree with, there's something that resonates with you, by all means, share equally. And if there's something that you think, you know what, that could have been said differently, wasn't as respectful nor responsible, that's fine. The beauty of a democracy is the healthy dialogue and discourse and debate that ensures. Let not us, divide us. Let's find a way of bringing us together. And sometimes, messages in the music, sometimes the lyrics cause us to look at life with a lot more love and laughter. I like the storyteller himself, Billy Joel. So Miss Susan probably got it queued up for the longest time. Is that what you're playing for us? All right. Well, tomorrow my good friend Nobi sits with me, and I want you to be a part of that discussion. Join me start in the morning for the record. Until then, be blessed.
Chances, I forgot how nice romances. I haven't been there for the longest time. I had second thoughts at the start. I said to myself, hold on to your heart. Now I know the woman that you are. You're wonderful so far, and it's more than I hope for. I don't care what consequence it brings. I have been a fool for lesser things. I want you so bad. I think you ought to know that I intend to hold you for the longest time.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.